Hey everyone, how's it going? I'm iamxeracon, and I just did a video actually just now, um, talking about the Metroid Search for One um, Netflix series. If you are interested in Bionicle, or if you just want to think about my opinions on how that series went, the link is in the description below, so you can go there and check it out. Also, I have links to the 2017 retrospective video, as well as my thoughts on Disney buying out Fox Studios and what that could mean for many franchises in the future of quite a few things, and what implications and ramifications come from that. So you can check those out as well. But this video is about Metroid Prime 4 and what's possibly happening with it. So if you don't already know, Metroid Prime 4 was announced at this year's E3, along with Metroid Samus Returns, which is a great game. If you have a 3DS, go and play it. It's definitely worth it. I feel like it's almost like a second Fusion, as far as, I guess you could say, one thing difficulty, and also, yeah, I mean, I guess you could say it's a combination of Fusion and Zero Mission, the fact that it's a great, faithful adaptation adaptation of the original, well, not adaptation, but a remake of the original game, like how Zero Mission was a great remake of the original Metroid. And it has the difficulty of Fusion, because Fusion was way harder than Zero Mission was. Yeah, like, no doubt about that. Yeah, it's definitely good, and I definitely recommend it. But yeah, so that was announced, and the last time I remember a Metroid handheld and console game coming out, or at least being announced or having some sort of talk around each other, was Prime 2 and Zero. No, Prime 2 and Hunters. Um, yeah, Prime 2 and Hunters. Although it's. Huh, that's actually kind of weird because Prime 2 came, I think, the same year as Zero Mission, but in my, um, in my Prime 2, game, there was a like sort of pamphlet talking about hunters. Maybe that one was in development, but either way, yeah, that was the last time I remember that console and handheld Metroid, around the same time. And you could say that, yeah, it's the only time. So, so yeah, so that's a pretty big thing. I'm definitely looking forward to this one, even though there are some concerns, like the fact that Metroid, Metroid Prime trilogy was done by Retro Studios, and now the people developing it are unknown. Like, we don't know who's doing it. There are rumors, but we don't know. Like, the most current rumor is the fact that Bandai Namco is developing it, and that there was going to be a Met that there's going to be a Bandai Namco event occurring last Friday. However, nothing happened that we know about with it, and there's supposed to be 5 uh, games coming to it for the Switch, and we don't know anything about it. Now, later on, the person who made that announcement, saying that was going to happen, said that rumor was going to happen, Marcus Sellers, he said that there was an NDA and it was a closed event, so we probably won't see anything from that. I'm not sure if that's true or not, because originally there was he didn't say anything about there being an NDA or that was a private event. He just said it was coming, but he said that was from sources. Maybe sources didn't know about that. I don't know. The person was credible about. I can't remember what it was about, but he was credible about a rumor that was true. Um, so I'm not sure. I don't know. Maybe I have a feeling that this is true, but I just don't know, especially considering the fact that never mentioned that it was a private event until later, which raises questions in my head. Um, but yeah, so I'm a bit concerned about if it is being done by Bandai Namco because they've never. I don't think they've done a first-person shooter before. And this is definitely weird that Nintendo's giving them, development for this. Now, granted, when Metroid Prime was first announced, people had doubts about it entirely. Some people laughed at it. A 2D franchise going first-person shooter, that was, completely strange and alien, and especially done by an American company at that, too. And a new one at that. So that's definitely, would have cause for concerns. Um, but But and so even though, the same things happened, I am still a bit concerned if it is Bandai Namco, because I don't know what they'll do exactly. I'm hoping that there are going to be some people from the Retro team who were originally working with Metroid Prime, that they're in there and they can sort of help with that. Because that would be nice if they could, because I would like to, just make sure that this lives up to expectations and stuff, because the last time we had a trilogy that was well loved and then a fourth came out, and by the way, I'm not going to include Mass Effect, because of the fact that, well, I mean, Prime 3 was kind of a mixed with the ending, well, just the fact that the controls and stuff, but um okay, fine, well, no, okay, fine. I was gonna say something else, but let's just say, okay, for just right now, I guess you'd say Mass Effect 3, and then that the fourth was released and that one was just bad. But what I was gonna say was Halo, the Halo trilogy. You had Halo 1, 2, and 3. Those were beloved games. And then Halo 4 comes out, and then yeah, that's what happened. And oh my gosh, the same thing actually happens in this scenario. You have Retro Studios develop Prime 1, 2, and 3, and then a new studio is developing it. But then, wait, did I just say Halo or did I have to say Metro Prime? Alright, so let's say we have Halo that developed, you have Bungie that did Halos 1, 2, and 3. Then you have 343 do it, and then everything's just undone. You have Retro Studios doing Prime 1, 2, and 3, and then we have this new studio develop it. And yeah, so that's something that should be concerned. Now, am I saying that this is something that's inevitable that's going to be bad? I don't know. I certainly don't hope it will be bad. Um, but I am a bit cautious about that. Even though, granted, I am still hyped for it, but I still want to be cautious nonetheless about my expectations for the game. Um, And then, of course, there's also rumors that there could be a Metroid 5, especially with how successful Samus Returns was. I'm definitely glad it was successful. And this Metroid series needed that success, to be honest, in order to continue going on. Um, and yeah, so as far as Prime 4, what that could entail as far as story, I don't know. Because they could go with hunters, they could do a lot of things with it. Now, as far as story-wise. Now, as far as the gameplay controls, that's something that's going to interest me as well, because will they go with a actual controller, or will they use motion controls like with 3? And here's something which I'm actually wondering also, is the fact that how will they, if they use typical game controllers, how will that work as well? Because they could just, do something simple with that, but they could at the same time also include either twin stick controls, which was something that they didn't do before. Before it was more tank-like and strafing and stuff, but this time they could actually utilize twin stick controls for aiming as well as walking. Because before you can only aim and walk. You can only aim and then walk, you could aim and shoot, or you could walk. You couldn't do both at the same time. But with twin stick controls, you can actually have that choice of freedom. But another thing they could do is also gyro controls, which is pretty good, and it's better than twin stick controls because you actually have more, um, you have better control over your aim and stuff, and people use that similarities of like mouse controls, and the fact that you have more aim with that, you have more control with that than you do with simple twin stick. And gyro control is something that I would actually welcome because that's something that I've used before. I used that in Splatoon 2 when I went to the Switch event, and Breath of the Wild, that was something that I actually used, and that's a pretty welcome feature. So I would actually welcome that if they incorporated that. Um, Now it would be something I would have to get accustomed to because again, with Splatoon 2, I only played that one time, and then Breath of the Wild was only used for the bow and arrow section, so it's not like I was actually using it that frequently. Whereas with this, I would be using it all the time, and that'd be something like, would I be okay with doing that? So that's something to take into consideration. So, I guess other things that would affect the gameplay would be, is this a more linear one, or is this? I mean, as far as the fact that, is it going to be like the Prime trilogy, where it is somewhat linear but not, or is this going to be more of an open world type of thing? Um, and another thing, something someone had mentioned before, and I saw in a video, was the fact that bounties, because you're a bounty hunter, actually having actual bounties that you can go and missions you could go and do. That's something that would be interesting to see. Um, I'm not sure if they would actually incorporate that or not, but it would be an interesting feature to have. Um, and I I'm not sure how we would feel about it being open world though, because yes, Metroid is about exploration and finding those secret stuff, secret power-ups and whatnot. But I feel like that could really only be accomplished in a somewhat controlled world. Um, Although I think that Metroid Prime 1 was the best at doing that because there were actually ways where you could get to your objective but not go through the way that sort of other people recommend, or what the game sort of recommend, or what other people recommend. And that also reminded me of Super Metroid because you don't have to go one way to get to your destination in order to get there. And if they do something like that, I think that would be great for Metroid Prime 4. And when I say that for Metroid Prime 1, well, there was a way in the original where I would always go this one way to get to Phendronic Drifts when going through the Magmor Caverns, but the game actually wants me to go a different way through a different elevator. But I went through another way, and I didn't realize that until way, way later, and this is, of course, probably about after the second or third time I beat the game. um, but I found out about that, and I was thinking to myself, wow, that's pretty cool that I wasn't restricted from getting to my destination with this um, one path. So I think something like that would be nice. Some choice of how I can get to there without being too free, as in a open world scenario. Uh, Multiplayer, I think, should definitely be something that's included. Having an improvement over Metroid Prime 2's multiplayer. I'm not sure if Metroid Prime 3 had it or not, but when I bought that, that was after the Wii servers were shut down. Um, I, I I think there might be multiplayer, but that was only online. Um, Something like that. Make it larger. Make it actual maps that work um, for a deathmatch, and that would be nice. Definitely having it online would be nice as well. Uh, Chat. Well, we gotta see what Nintendo's gonna do about chat first of all. First of all, so that's something else. But multiplayer I think would be nice to have in there. Um, and yeah, so also I guess I'm also not sure when they would put that as well because you have Metroid, because Prime, yeah, because it will most definitely be after, it would most likely be after Prime 2, I think, because you think of the fact that Prime 3 is, the Prime trilogy takes place between 1 and 2, and then after Prime 3, this is going to be a spoiler, by the way, um, well, then of course you have Metroid Prime 2. You have Metroid 2, and then Ridley from at the end, who's the final boss of Metroid: Samus Returns, is Meta Rid is Mecha Ridley. No, it's Meta Ridley. Meta Ridley from Prime 3, and so we definitely confirms one that the Prime trilogy is canon, finally, to the naysayers out there, and two, that it does take place between 1 and 2. Um, so there's so it definitely takes place, I feel like, after that. And would that mean that we would get a new trilogy or what? And also the fact that Metroid Prime was focused solely around the Metroid Prime, or rather the Metroid that was corrupted by Phazon and mutated. And so even though it changed forms from 1 to 2 and 3, um, as far as being Metroid Prime and then being Dark Samus after absorbing the Phazon suits, it's still centered around the Metroid Prime. But this time, the Metroid Prime has been destroyed, along with Phazon. So what could happen next? That will be interesting to see. And there's a rumor that Metroid Prime 4 will make a appearance at Nintendo's January Direct. I do have faith that January Direct is coming. I don't know if there will be Metroid Prime 4. It's something that I feel could happen, and I would definitely like to see it happen, but I do not know. But yeah, that's overall it. That's me talking about the rumors and whatnot going on, and yeah, that's it. So let me know what you all think about Metroid Prime 4. Leave a comment in the comment section below, and don't forget to check out the other things I did recently. So hopefully this will be my last video for 2017. I was supposed to be doing nothing until 2018. Hopefully in 2018 we'll be going back to the Bionicle story in chronological order, because I realized that we are actually close to the end of it. Oh, wow. So yeah, until next time everyone, I will hopefully see you in 2018. I am Xeracon signing off. Have a good rest of the year.